Good day, party people. I'm back with a pop culture update because I've been up to stuff. I got recently hired on full-time at my job finally, and now I've got a weird run. I work 3 to 11:30 at night, and it's bizarre. So I find myself with all this time during the start of the day to do stuff. So I was stagnating there for a while because I was tired and falling asleep at night all the time. But now I got this weird new shift, and I'm awake in the morning, so I've been getting stuff done all of a sudden, right? So I've got a bunch of stuff to go over, and we'll start with a couple of books. The first being Aliens, Infiltrator. And apparently this is a prequel to a new Aliens game that's coming out from Cold Iron Studios or something like that, which I hadn't heard of yet, but obviously I'm going to get it if I ever find it. But in this book, a scientist named Timothy Hoenicker or something like that he's a scientist, and he is promised the ability to study alien artifacts on this place called Pala Station, which is out in some remote sector near an a recently discovered world that they're working on. And so aboard this station, he finds he's been misled a bit, and they're actually doing research on xenomorphs. And they're doing it to try and improve Colonial Marines' armor. So they've been working on some acid resistance, which has gone fairly well, and they're now working on trying to get kind of a cloaking technology, the ability to kind of disappear and become invisible. So the station staff is made up of a whole mosh podge of people. A lot of them former Colonial Marines that have moved on to new careers. One of them is one of the scientists, Dr. Cruz. One of them's in charge of station security, yada yada. They're all over the place. So as Hoenicker gets there and he sees what's going on, he's kind of disappointed because the administration, the guy that runs the place, is a dickhead. One of the aliens gets out when Dr. Cruz has a flashback of his Marine days and kind of drops the ball, and somebody dies, and the guy that's in charge of this station, Victor Rawlings, he's a former Marine as well, and he just gets a feeling that something bad's coming. So he gets together with all the other former Colonial Marines, and they decide to meet every once in a while and stick together because he just has a bad feeling in his gut, and some of the other guys do too. So a new batch of xenomorph eggs is on its way down from a ship in orbit around Pala Station, and not long after that takes place, they have some volunteers that have done bad things in the past that are getting things taken care of in their life by volunteering to become host to a xenomorph facehugger and eventually spawn a xenomorph because they need these things to do experiments on. But of course, all things go to hell. The aliens escape, and it's basically a flight for survival, off this station. And I'm not going to tell you how it ends, in case you want to play the game and pick up from the end of that book and into the game. But basically that's kind of the story behind this book, and then onwards into the game. We'll see what happens if I ever do get to play it. Next up, a book from back in 1997 by Jeffrey Deaver called The Bone Collector. And I believe this was made into a movie back in the day, and I'm pretty sure it stars Denzel Washington, but I can't be sure. That's just kind of what's coming to mind. But anyways, it stars the police combo of Lincoln Rhyme, who is a paraplegic and is in a wheelchair, and he used to be a crime scene investigator, and he's like the best. Evidence and everything is his gig. He knows how to work a crime scene and find any little clue that'll help lead them to a perp. And Amelia Sachs is a patrol officer who gets dragged into it. And this is actually, they become quite a team in the end, and in books going forward. But this is actually their first meeting is in this book. So Sachs is out on duty one day when she gets called to investigate an area where they think a crime was committed. And it's down by this train yard in New York. And in Manhattan, is it maybe? I don't know. But she finds a hand sticking up out of the dirt, finds that somebody's been buried alive, and so she shuts down the crime scene, does things to the books. But the commissioner or some high up says, "Why did you shut down this street?" And then there's a UN conference going on, and you congested all the traffic, not caring about the person who was murdered and catching the perp, but you fucked up all this other stuff, right? Rhyme notices she does this after a former friend and colleague named Lon Salito comes calling on Rhyme to help work the scene. And Rhyme says, "Oh, Sax did this. I want her on this case, right?" So, but she's like, "I'm a patrol officer, and I'm going into public affairs, like starting later today. Like, why am I working? I'm not a crime scene investigator. Why am I helping you with this?" So they clash right off the get-go. But as things go on, he has her work the scenes remotely as he's in contact with her. They at first things don't go well, but as time goes on, they start to develop quite a relationship, and Sax kind of embraces her role as kind of Rhyme's eyes on the scene, and learns how to work a crime scene. And over time, they gain evidence and more stuff to lead them towards this perp who's dubbed the Bone Collector. And this perp is obsessed with old-time New York, and he's taking all of his crimes and his murders from way past back in the maybe the 1800s or early 1900s from a murderer that operated back then, and recreating some of these old crimes. And so their task is to catch this guy and bring him to justice for all the murders he's committed. So pretty cool story. I normally go for more out there stuff like aliens and stuff like that, but every once in a while a good cop thing is pretty good, as long as it's not too technical and stuff like that. I really like these ones because they're fast paced and they're thrillers, but you also learn a bit about police work and stuff like that too. So next up, still on the aliens front, for the PS3 I completed Alien vs. Predator, and this game was awesome. The story is that Weyland-Yutani is on this planet, and they've discovered alien artifacts and stuff like that, so they're exploring the planet, exploiting it, trying to learn stuff, and of course the humans run into a lot of trouble with aliens and whatnot. So you can play the game on 3 different fronts. You play as the Colonial Marine. You're tasked with getting the hell off the planet. So along the way, you have to rescue some comrades, you run into aliens, you have to fight an alien queen, and then in the end you enter this temple that belonged to the Predators, and you have to face down a small number of Predators, thankfully, before you can call for a dropship and get the hell off the planet. And then as the alien, you start off in captivity with Weyland-Yutani scientists. They're studying you and doing experiments on you, but eventually, of course, you break free, and then your task is to kind of escape that captivity, get back to your queen, and just make sure your race proliferates on this planet and isn't stopped by the Colonial Marines. And then, of course, in the end, you also have to face off against, I think, an elite Predator. So, and then as the Predator, you get called to this planet because there's a distress beacon, and you find some of your comrades deceased. So your task is to find these dead Predators, set their wrist things to explode so nobody can gain any intel on the Predators, and then get off planet. But along the way, of course, you face Colonial Marines, you face aliens, and then in the end, you face a hybrid alien Predator. So an alien a facehugger attached itself to a Predator, and of course there was a Predator alien spawn from it, so you have to face off against this monstrosity in the end. And it's not an easy game. A lot of it's pretty easy to get through, but whenever you get to a boss fight, like you have to face the alien queen or the Predator alien or whatever, it can be pretty tricky. So you have to use all your little each character has its own kind of disadvantages and advantages, so you have to take care to knowing how to play with your character to get through those boss fights. But very well done game. The fact that you could attack it from 3 prongs really extended the gameplay on it. Like it wasn't just you're a Colonial Marine, you're fighting the aliens and then Predators, game over, right? Like 3 different stories, right? It allowed you to experience things from every viewpoint, which was awesome. Really fun game. I was ecstatic when this came out, because when's the last time you saw something from this franchise? G.I. Joe Operation Blackout for PS4. I'm a huge G.I. Joe fan from when I was a kid. I've kept it going my whole life. As you know, I read the comics and everything. And this was just awesome. It's 2 players. It's a third-person shooter. The story is that Cobra attacks the USS Flag, the big aircraft carrier. And while they've got G.I. Joe distracted on that attack, they employ this device called the Blackout. sphere, something like that, which basically shuts down all electronics across the globe. And so Cobra is able to take over the world on this ploy. A lot of the Joes are captured. I think some are maybe even killed. There's a small handful still out there. Duke's gone missing. So your task is to take these few remaining Joes into action, strike back at Cobra, recover Duke, and end this Cobra occupation of the world and take things back. So there's a number of characters you can play with. There's Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Lady J, Duke eventually, Roadblock, so all the classics. And then there's also Sci-Fi, which was kind of a later release as a character and was kind of a weird addition to the game. It's cool, but I just thought of all the characters they had involved, he kind of was the one that was like, didn't fit with the rest, right? The classic lineup and then this guy from later on in the series. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, just a fantastic run and gun, really easy to play. Difficulty levels medium to hard, depending on where you are. But lots of cool enemies in the game you get to face off against: Cobra Commander, Zartan, Baroness, Destro, all the classics, right? And yeah, 16, 17 missions maybe, I think, somewhere around there. Pretty easy to play through, but a whole lot of fun in the process. So that was an awesome, awesome surprise. Next up, Wally for the Nintendo Wii. As you know, I watched the movie a while back and I reviewed it. So humanity, the Earth, they've ruined it. So they go to space aboard this big ship called the Axiom and leave all these robots on Earth to clean everything up, and then they'll eventually be called back to Earth once everything's cool. So Wally, this little garbage unit, he's the last one left operational on the Earth. It's the year 2805, some shit like that. He finds a sapling, a little plant. This ship comes down, senses it. This little robot, Eve, takes it and goes, oh, okay, I'm going back to the Axiom. But her and Wally develop this kind of friendship. And Wally sees her leaving. He's like, no! So he tags along. They get to the Axiom, where the onboard ship computer Otto has taken over, and he doesn't want the ship to go back to Earth. It's kind of this AI that's gone rogue, and so he finds ways to hide this sprout from the ship's captain, so that he won't go back to Earth. So it's Wally and Eve kind of work together to defeat the ship's AI and let the captain know everything's good, and they go back to Earth. So you just basically play through this plot of the movie as Wally, and along the way you gain different abilities. Once you meet Eve, you know, she can help you float and fly a little bit, you know. There's little vending machines along the way that give you certain abilities and cubes you can use to do certain things. Pretty fun game. Not that long to play through. Most of it's easy. There are quite a few tricky parts along the way. One of the trickiest parts is that because it's the Wii, it's the motion controls. I really found in certain areas of the game it worked really well. It was intuitive. It worked well. Other areas, the camera's going all around. You're just trying to stabilize it and kill some enemies, and it's just things are out of control and you're getting blasted, right? It wasn't quite as refined as it should be in certain areas of the game compared to other areas of the game. But still, it's such a great movie, such a great little character, such a cool little story that came out of nowhere, and it's fun to play along with the game to such a neat little kind of franchise. So very fun. Last up, this was kind of a dud. I was really excited for this. I found it at Game Cycle, like I did a lot of these games for really cheap. It's a PS2 game called Gadget Racers. Kind of like those penny cars, you know, they look like that, almost Micro Machines-ish. So I started playing it, and I really enjoyed it at first, but then you can't really win a race. To win a race, you have to upgrade your car super, like there's all these different engines you can upgrade to. But the fact that you're so shitty at the start, you win very few credits, and so it takes forever to save up just to get one thing. And I bought tires, and it barely made a difference. I bought steering or whatever, barely made a difference. I bought a next engine up, made a bit of a difference, but not enough to really win and gain a lot of credits. So it seems like to get where you need to get in this game to be competitive and get to through all the races and towards the end of the game, it just seems like it would take forever, and it's not that fun. It's not fun enough of a game to make you want to stick with it and go through all that. So I got through a bit, and I'm like, you know what? It's cool. I like the premise of the game. I like the graphics. I like the feel of it. I like the vibe. It's just that the way they set it up, not fun. It just takes the fun right out of it. The fact that you have to do the same stupid race over and over again, gain 100 credits, engine costs 6,000, so how many races do I have to do just to get a new engine that may not even fucking work and get me over the top, right? So I'm just like, you know what? I'm putting it away. I got a whole stack of other racing games I can play. I'm going to move on to those ones. I'm going to put this one away. If I ever feel like coming back to it after I've worked through all the other games I have in my cabinet, maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe I won't. But either way, it was only $4 or something like that, so I got to play it a bit. It is what it is. You get some that win, you get some that lose. For the most part, I pick pretty good games, but every once in a while I will pick a bit of a dud. But that's why you take a chance, and especially that's why you go to Game Cycle to take a chance, where the games are $1 to $6, and if it's any more than $6 or $7, you know it's probably a really good game anyways, right? So, anyways, that's it for now. I hope I didn't stress the length of this video out, so it's going to take me forever to post, as I have to offload all my apps so I have the space to fucking post it. But we'll see soon enough. Toodles!